If you are a Chicago resident and more importantly a Chicago baseball fan, this is the place to be this afternoon. Crosstown rivals will match up in Cactus League play on a gorgeous afternoon in Mesa. Chicago Cubs baseball on Marquee Sports Network as the Cubs host the White Sox. And welcome to the booth. I'm Len Kasper. Jim Deshaies is under the weather today, but we have a lot of good stuff for you. Albert Almora Jr. off to a terrific start here in the Cactus League. He and Ian Happ are in that battle for the center field spot. Almora is in the lineup today. He is batting sixth, and you see not only hitting for average, but hitting for some power as well. And with more on Almora's spring, let's send it down to the field and Taylor McGregor. Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Len. Those numbers are fruition of the changes that Albert Almora made to his swing in the offseason. And the changes are essentially just trying to simplify his swing. He said making it more about seeing the ball and hitting the ball and not having to worry so much about everything being perfectly intact to get results. And so the numbers have been great, but David Ross has seen more that encourages him that Almora is off to a great start.
Ability to use the whole field, staying up the middle. Most of his hits have come in the gaps, which is rewarding, means the ball's traveling, he's letting it get deeper, making good solid contact, and really not a whole lot of ground balls. He's a guy that used to hit a lot of ground balls, weak contact, seems to be up the middle. The angle of his bat seems to be trying to get the ball in the air a little bit more. I don't know, talking to him, if that's true or not.
Ross also went on to talk about how the big thing he's noticed this spring has been mentally from Almora. He says he's able to move on past failures way quicker than in the past. So it's been really good to see him both at the plate and then in his mind being able to grow this season, Len.
Thank you. And these two teams have very high hopes in their respective leagues, and we've got a great pitching matchup today. Lucas Giolito might be their opening day starter. This will be his spring debut, and big left-hander Jon Lester will make his third spring start for the Cubs. Again, crosstown rivals, always fun when they match up, no matter where it is. North side, south side, or Arizona. The White Sox and the Cubs coming up next. Cubs and exclusive checking, and by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Great to have you with us today, March 6th, 2020. And the weather has been incredibly consistent and very lovely here the last several days. About 81 degrees. Wind was blowing harder earlier, but has died down at the moment. And it looks like we will have a packed house here at Sloan Park for this White Sox-Cubs matchup. They'll get together in Glendale next Friday as well. We've got a lot coming up. Nico Hoerner will be mic'd up for us. He's leading off for the Cubs and playing second. Kyle Schwarber will chat with Taylor McGregor after he's done today. And Bruce Levine, Ron Coomer in the booth, Ron Rappaport, and a cast of thousands. And get well wishes to my partner Jim Deshaies. That flu bug's been going around the clubhouse, and so he'll get a couple of days to recover and be back up and at him next week. Cubs 5-8-1 on the spring. The White Sox 7-5-1, and they've got a lineup that might be pretty close to what you'll see on opening day on the south side. So their lineup brought to you by First Midwest Bank, helping you build business momentum. Yoan Moncada officially today signed a long-term contract extension. More on that later. Tim Anderson was the major league leader in batting average last season. Jose Abreu is back on a multi-year deal. Grandal and Encarnacion brought in as free agents. Eloy Jimenez, a former Cubs prospect, is in left. Luis Robert, young, exciting center fielder, hits seventh. Leury Garcia, the veteran, at second. And Adam Engel is in right, batting ninth. And the Cubs starting pitcher is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Veteran left-hander Jon Lester, and felt a lot better about his outing the last time out, and this will be his third start of the spring. Now the defense for the Cubs brought to you by your local Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers. Schwarber, Almora, and Hayward left, center, right. Bodie, Perez, Horner, Descalzo around the infield, third to first. And Victor Caratini will catch for the lefty Lester. Moncada, a switch hitter, will start it. And away we go. The first pitch is in there for a strike. Moncada gets a 5-year, $70 million contract, plus a club option. Swing and a miss. Good changeup. Option for 2025. So they have locked in a lot of their young, exciting players. Lester rocks and fires, and a little high. See what he did last season, cut down a bit on his strikeouts. Got him from the Red Sox. In the dirt that time on a curveball. That was the Chris Sale deal back in December of 2016. Two balls, two strikes. Usually Lester works with Contreras, but it's Caratini today. In the air, out in the right, and it'll get down in front of Hayward. Bloop single for Moncada to start it. Here comes Tim Anderson, the shortstop. At .335 to lead the majors last season. Fourth season in the big leagues last year, so this will be year number 5 for Anderson. Descalzo holds a runner at first, and John's first pitch is a little wide. That's Alfonso Marquez back of the plate. And he will be a crew chief here in 2020. Jerry Davis, Brian Gorman, and Ryan Addington are on the bases. Up and in on a cutter. Berms are just about packed. Very few empty seats in the grandstand area. And it looks like standing room only here at Sloan Park. Ground ball into left, and the White Sox have 2 on with nobody out to start the game. Anderson does not walk a whole lot, only walked 15 times last year, but he went down to get that cutter. So it'll bring up Jose Abreu. He had initially accepted the White Sox qualifying offer after last season, but then eventually agreed to a 3-year $50 million extension. Double play depth around the infield. And the pitch is a called strike. Another cutter from Lester. Former Cub manager Ricky Renteria, 4th season managing the White Sox, and they have very high hopes. Bounced foul wide of third. Cubs have a big split squad weekend coming up. Half the team will remain here in Arizona. And the other half will head to Las Vegas after this game for 2 against the Cincinnati Reds, and we'll have both right here on Marquee Sports Network. Two strikes on Abreu. Outside. Mentioned that flu bug going around the clubhouse. Yu Darvish was scratched yesterday. He pitched a simulated game earlier today. We'll have some video of that a little later. John has a sign from Caratini. And the pitch called, strike 3 on the inside corner. And throws him on a heater for the first out. Abreu thought it was inside. He probably doesn't do a whole lot with it, even if he makes contact. That could end up being a double play ball if he swings away. Now Yasmani Grandal making his White Sox spring debut. He had been slowed by a mild left calf strain. Played in a B game yesterday, and he's batting cleanup and catching. And he curved him for a strike. He might be their key offseason acquisition in that he does one thing this team doesn't do a whole lot of collectively, and that is take walks. Lester a look at the runners. Inside for a ball. So Grandal will handle a lot of the catching duties, maybe play a little first, DH. Dallas Keuchel, they expect him to make 30+ starts. And they also hope Edwin Encarnacion hits, what, 35+ home runs, which he typically does. Encarnacion is on deck. A 1-1 pitch is a strike. John in the final of a 6-year contract. Cubs have an option for 2021. 36 years old. Swing and a miss, strike 3. After a couple of base hits, Lester missing some bats. And with 2 outs, it'll be Encarnacion. Got him on that cut fastball. He's the 3-time All-Star, and he was able. Nope, he went. Ryan Gorman made the call down at first. I thought he held. Let's see. Borderline. That's a flip of the coin. Or as JD said, it's the possession arrow, so they'll get the next call. 1 strike on Encarnacion. A kick in the pitch just off the corner, maybe high. This guy's hit at least 32 home runs each of the last 8 seasons. The pitch pop foul, and this will get back to the seats. The active RBI leaders, Encarnacion ranks number 4. And on the home run list, number 3. Pujols, Cabrera, 1, 2 in both categories. Robinson, Cano, 3rd in RBIs. First 2 reach, they haven't moved since. Swing and a miss. Lester strikes out 3 and gets out of the first inning with no damage. Nico Hoerner will lead things off. Kyle Schwarber and Wilson Contreras to follow. Cubs coming up. Nice work on Lester to get out of the top of the first with those 3 strikeouts. And now the Cubs lineup against Lucas Giolito, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield through it all. Hoerner, Schwarber, and Contreras. Wilson the DH this afternoon. Hayward, Caratini, and Almora in the middle. David Bodie will play third base. Chris Bryant will see action this weekend in his hometown of Las Vegas. Descalzo for Rizzo. And Hernan Perez, the shortstop, hitting 9th. White Sox starting pitcher Lucas Giolito, brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Coming off quite a comeback year in 2019. He was an all-star. Season ended a little early in mid-September with a lat strain as he works to Hoerner, and the fastball misses low. The wind and the pitch. Nico with a ground ball to Anderson, the shortstop. White Sox defensively brought to you by Miller Lite. They were not very good last year. They're going to ask Robert in center to cover a lot of ground. So Jimenez, Robert, Engel in the outfield. Moncada, Anderson, Garcia, and Abreu around the infield. Grandal, very good pitch framer, catching for Giolito. Now Kyle Schwarber. White Sox shift on the infield against Kyle, and he takes a strike. Cubs are 5th in the Cactus League in runs, although they were shut out on Thursday by the Texas Rangers 5-0. 0-2. Giolito 6'6", 245. From Southern California. Looks like they want to go up with a fastball, and it did. Yep, got a piece of Schwarber's jersey. Barely grazed the blue. Wilson Contreras with a man on and one away. Here's the pitch, fouled away for strike 1. Mentioned Giolito with a comeback year. He had the worst qualified ERA in baseball 2 seasons ago, 6.13. Most walks in the American League, most earned runs allowed in baseball. And a complete turnaround in 2019. First pitcher to make an all-star team a year after having the worst ERA in the majors. Veteran pitching coach Don Cooper looks on. Slide step in the pitch. It's inside. And it's 2-1. Giolito was a first-round pick of the Nationals. White Sox got him in the Adam Eaton deal prior to 2017. The pitch high, 3-1. Schwarber at first after a hit by pitch. No real shift on here. Straight up infield outfield against Wilson. And Giolito will check on the runner. Well, it was a first inning at bat last year at Wrigley Field. It resulted in a grand slam as Contreras and the Cubs jumped all over Giolito. It was June 19th. Full count on Wilson. Craig Driver chatting with Kyle Schwarber. We'll see if David Ross wants some movement here. Trying to stay out of a double play. Average lead by Kyle. Not running. And we'll try it again. Hayward on deck. And another 3-2. Schwarber running. That is called strike 3. And Schwarber is safe at second. A little confusion there. Jerry Davis, looking at home plate, made a pretty late call. Marquez, the home plate umpire, ringing up Contreras a little late. Yeah, I think Davis was waiting to see if it was ball 4. That's why he, although the safe call would have applied either way, right? They may have gotten him. So 2 outs. Schwarber gets a steal out of it. And it is Hayward. And low and outside. 1 extra base hit, 3 out of 18 with a double for Hayward. But he has drawn 5 walks, so he's been seeing the ball well. Swing and a miss. Giolito's fastball 93, but with that long 6-6 reach, he gets on top of you quickly. Schwarber, bottom of your screen at second with 2 outs. The pitch. Fly to center. Robert makes the grab. Jimenez and Robert, 2 exciting young prospects coming up in the second against John Lester.
We joined now by a special guest, Joe Shade, who celebrated his 97th birthday yesterday, and he has been a Cubs fan since he was a patrol boy at Wrigley Field in the 30s. So Joe, my first question, for those who don't know what a patrol boy is, will you explain that?
The patrol boy in the 1930s acted as guards for children crossing streets that had traffic, a good amount of traffic on them. And the reason why we were patrol boys was because the city of Chicago could not afford to pay an adult to be a patrol guard at the streets. And as an adjunct to what I'm saying, the teachers in those years were paid in script. And because they were paid in script, the teachers had to depend upon the generosity of the retail stores to buy food or pharmaceutical products or clothing. And this was the reason why the script was issued, was because the city had to wait until taxes were paid so that they could have enough money to pay the teachers in cash.
So you have been a Cub fan for a very long time. Do you have a favorite memory over your years?
Well, I have a favorite memory of the Cubs simply because the Cubs were the favorites for many, many years in the Chicago area. And because they were favorites, it was a natural feeling that you have for the Cubs being your favorite sports team. And as a consequence, I was very fortunate as a patrol boy to be able to witness the Cubs play baseball games during the season, because patrol boys were given free access to the stadium because of their work as a patrol boy.
Did you know you have the same birthday as Kyle Schwarber?
Okay.
Did you know you have the same birthday as Kyle Schwarber?
Well, I'll accept that as an honor to be associated with Mr. Schwarber. Okay.
Why did you decide to celebrate your 97th down here in Phoenix at a Cubs game here today in Mesa?
Well, I've been doing this for 20 years now, and just being out in the air in the month of March that I cannot duplicate in Chicago at the same time, I appreciate being here.
Who do you have with you here today?
I have Helen Maggot, a longtime friend. And believe it or not, we met in a classroom. And meeting in a classroom was a very fine place to meet a person, because in a classroom there's open discussion. You get an idea of what that person is like, and you sort of get a sneak preview of what you're going to face if you decided to have a relationship with that person.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you and your family got to come down here. Happy birthday. Glad you're at the ballpark to celebrate it. Len, we'll send it back to you.
Taylor, thank you. Happy 97th to Mr. Shade as Luis Robert knocks in the first run of the day. Jimenez after the leadoff walk, driven in by Robert, who will undoubtedly make his big league debut on opening day here in 2020. A very exciting five-tool player. And he smacked this one out into the alleyway. A run-scoring hit. John was able to work around a couple of singles in the first inning as he struck out three veteran hitters. The youngsters getting to him here in the second. Now Leury Garcia, another switch batter, playing second base. And he takes a strike. Runner at second, a run in, nobody out here in the second. He went. The borderline call. Looked like that time he did go. Garcia can play just about anywhere. But the second base job opened up. Elmer Sanchez was not brought back. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike three. So 4 outs recorded by Lester. They've all been strikeouts. 3 swinging. And that one on the cutter. Now Adam Engel, he's playing right. Another acquisition in the offseason. Nomar Mazara, left-handed hitter. We'll see a lot of the playing time. Foul tip, strike 1. John working with Caratini today, even though typically Contreras is his catcher. If you've got any sort of injury concerns, you want to make sure most of your staff has worked with all the catchers. Low and in. Caratini catches Yu Darvish most days. He's really made a lot of strides back there. One rocket foul over the head of their third base coach, Nick Capra. Quick feet from Nick. One and two. Jimenez walked. Robert knocked him in with a double. Garcia struck out. Now Lester home on a 1-2, and he gets Engel on a changeup. Five strikeouts for John Lester. He's thrown a couple of dandies in terms of that changeup already today. Back to the top in Moncada. Curveball strike. Lester now from the stretch inside. When he has missed, he hasn't missed by a whole lot. Typically he is around the plate, just trying to work the edges. Swing and a miss on the changeup. He did increase his usage of that pitch last year, according to Fangraphs, just under 12% of the time, up from a little over 9% the year before. Changeup, low and outside. His cutter usage increased, and the fastball went down. It typically been up over 50%, but he threw his fastball only about 38% of the time. Two balls and two strikes. Again, infield pretty much straight up, around toward right in the outfield against Moncada. And John will step off. Robert is not a threat to run because he's already in scoring position with 2 outs, but He'll steal a lot of bases this year for the White Sox for sure. Moncada fouls. I expect to score a lot more runs with this new look White Sox offense. Two balls, two strikes. Here it comes. Ground ball to short. Backhanded by Perez. Safe at first. Here's Moncada. It'll be an infield single. He's 2 for 2. Tough play for the shortstop in the hole. And Moncada runs him very well. So he keeps the inning alive for Tim Anderson. Anderson singled his first time up. And a slow chopper foul. Anderson, who did lead the league in hitting last year, he's got to hit for a high average because he doesn't walk a whole lot. A very aggressive guy at the plate. Maybe the biggest thing for him is just to cut down on the errors defensively. Ground ball, diving stop. David Bote, throw to first. He got him. What a play. Bote helps Lester get out of the jam here in the second inning. And the White Sox limited to 1. Looking like Chris Bryant over there. 1-0 White Sox. David Bote with one of the better defensive plays we've seen this spring, diving into foul territory and then making a perfect throw to first to get Anderson and get Lester out of the inning. It's the first out recorded by John that hasn't been a strikeout. Former Cub Steve Cishek spent the last 2 years 150 appearances combined with the Northsiders and now with the White Sox. He put up a 2.55 ERA with 11 saves as a Cub. Great guy in the clubhouse, and he took the ball whenever asked. He'll get Caratini on a 3-bouncer to second. One away here in the Cubs second. 1-0 White Sox. Now Almora. Albert 8 out of 18 with a double and 2 homers. Big stories coming into this spring was the center field position, and so far so good. Almora and Happ both off to great starts. Slider missed inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cishek now 33, 6'6", 215. Generally works pretty quickly. With the new 3-batter minimum rule, it shouldn't affect a guy like him. He's pretty good both ways, getting lefties and righties. That ball blistered foul to left. Wind has kicked up a little bit, blowing in from right. Shouldn't affect much to left today. Oh, it's bounced foul. What a day. Feels like we say that every day out here. It has been absolutely gorgeous. Got him looking on the outside corner for out number 2. No argument from Albert. Well framed by Grandal. Now Bodie for the first time. He's playing third and batting 7th. A spinner for a strike. Still looking for his first homer this spring. Swing and a miss on the slider. Cubs without a hit. Giolito hit a batter. Did not allow a run on the first. Now Cishek in the second. 1-2. High that time. Descalso would bat next. These two clubs will match up twice here in Arizona, 4 times in the regular season. All 4 games will be in July. Three-two serve, and he walked him. Hey, Cubs fans, the 2020 season promises to be full of action, drama, and intrigue. Be a part of it all and see it live on summer's biggest stage, Wrigley Field, where stories play. Tickets are still available for the March 30th home opener against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Visit Cubs.com today. Now Descalso playing first base. Saw him in the outfield earlier this week. A lot of second base action, third base. Nothing in 1. Short lead by Bodie. And the pitch. This will get a play off third. This feels like a big league game. It really does. This ballpark reminds you a lot of Wrigley, and probably going to have upwards of 15,000 fans in the stands. A little more juice than a typical spring afternoon. And it's a Friday, so they're getting their weekend off to an early start. Cishek throws, and another foul. White Sox train in Glendale. They share a facility with the Dodgers and will be there next Friday. Another 1-2. The appeal, he went. That's strike 3. Couple of Ks for Cishek against his former team. After 2 from Sox 1, Cubs nothing from Sloan Park. Big group out here from Wintrust. Ceremonial first pitch today, courtesy Mike Foster, managing director, Midwest Mezzanine Funds, and a strike to Clark. And let's send it out to Taylor. Hey, Taylor.
Hey, Len, I'm with Matt Doubleday, who's the Chief Marketing Officer with Wintrust, kind enough to join us today. So we want to know, why is it so important for Wintrust to sponsor the Crosstown Cup?
Well, we've been a partner of both teams for 5 or 6 years now, and last season both the Cubs and the Sox actually came together and asked us to be a sponsor to bring the Cup back. Cup's been around for decades, but it kind of hasn't been talked about for a while, and they really wanted to bring it back and get fans excited about it, and make a big deal make a big deal about it again.
How would you describe what it means to Wintrust and the city of Chicago?
Well, for us, Chicago is a sports city, so anything you can do to get more attention to any sports, especially baseball, is huge. Last name's Doubleday. It's got to be all about baseball for me anyway. So getting everybody excited about watching both our teams play more often and get really competitive about it is a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite memory from the Crosstown Cup?
I don't know if it's fair to call it a favorite memory. I didn't move up to Chicago till the mid-'90s, but probably the most memorable one would be the Barrett-Brzezinski fight in, was that 06? I just like that because it's a good story about how seriously everybody takes it. You talk to anybody about that fight, everybody was there, so there must have been 500,000 people in the stands watching it, that only holds 40. And it must have gone on for a half hour, though I think it was a push and a punch, and that was about it. But it's a fun story to get people started about.
Good memories, and yes, we love the good rivalry. Len, we'll send it to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Taylor. Oh, I'm going to get a text from AJ. Abreu fouls away. Lester in his 3rd inning of work. 2-2 on Abreu. 5 strikeouts already for John. Deep center. And it's going to stay in. Almora with the sunglasses on makes the catch. And don't miss your chance to help choose the new Wintrust Crosstown Series trophy. Which is your favorite? The cup, the flip, the loop, or the star? Voting ends soon. Visit wintrust.com/crosstown to cast your vote today. I guess first look. I don't know. I kind of like the star myself. Yasmani Grandal, deep left, and it's going to curl foul. Boy, he hit it a ton. Yeah, I like the star. But they're all good. Bruce Levine is with us. He'll be a Marquee Sports Network contributor here in 2020. He's been covering the Cubs and Sox for about 3 decades. How are you, Bruce?
Yeah, it's great, Len. Great to be here, and great to be contributing to the Marquee Sports Network. It's going to be a lot of fun working with you and JD and Taylor from time to time, and all sorts of other things that they'll have me doing as well.
Pretty neat when these 2 teams match up here. There's just a little extra buzz in the ballpark. Grandal is out on strikes, and again, games don't matter, but the writers get to write about stuff. Obviously, Moncada's deal, a big headline here today, and both teams have very high hopes.
Yeah, absolutely, Len. With the way the White Sox have approached it is they're wrapping up all their young players to long-term contracts, and contract control for a smaller market team like the White Sox in a big market where the Cubs are the dominant team as far as monetarily and as far as the equity that comes in. That's a big deal for the White Sox to be able to guarantee what their payroll is going to be in the future.
Encarnacion waves at strike 1, 1-1 the count. White Sox got their run in the second. John has 6 strikeouts to date. Maybe his final inning. That's in there. It's 1 and 2.
You notice John has a really good command today, and
yeah, I agree.
He's getting a lot of called strikes, and you know, making contact. Having John, you know, making soft contact is something that he wants to do a lot this year.
There's another changeup, Bruce. That's a pitch he has utilized a lot more today, possibly by design.
You know, as a pitcher ages like John, and he doesn't have quite the fastball he had at one point, you know, just making your pitches and having command is what he concentrated on going into the season, and I think we've seen that in spring training so far.
Ooh, close, as the whole team did the walk-off. Marquez said it was maybe a little outside or low. Let's see. Boy, hit the target. Could have gone either way.
Marquez needs another look on that one, Lenny.
Going in this time. Full count with Jimenez on deck.
I think John is too happy with the last 2 calls.
I would agree with you. Ball 4. So Encarnacion takes the walk, and that will be it. David Ross is heading out as Lester just passed 60 pitches on the afternoon.
He certainly got his work in, which is all that you really want this time of year. I know John likes results even in spring training.
Before we get into the relief pitcher coming in, Yu Darvish today through a simulated game here at Sloan Park. He did give up a Steven Souza Jr. home run, but other than that, threw a lot of strikes. Just under 50 pitches made. He was scratched yesterday with flu-like symptoms, so good to see him get back on the mound and throw earlier today. Bruce, we still have just under 3 weeks to go before the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, he hasn't been named opening day starter, but he will be the opening day starter if he makes all of his marks as he progresses on in the next few starts before March 26th.
So the new Cubs pitcher over from minor league camp, left-hander Ryan Lawler, University of Georgia product. Cubs signed him as a minor league free agent in July of 18. He's facing Eloy Jimenez. And high for ball 1. Jimenez last March, before his debut, signed a 6-year contract. So Luis Robert kind of going through that process this year for the Sox. And that's inside for a ball.
And you know, going through their clubhouse this morning, they were kind of giddy and teasing Moncada because we were not able to talk to him because they didn't announce until this afternoon the official deal. And there's a lot of togetherness going on for them over there.
That is going to go foul to left.
Very similar to what we saw with the Cubs, a young team, and now the progression of these young players for the Cubs becoming superstars.
White Sox got Jimenez in the Jose Quintana deal 2017. 2 big homers against the Cubs last year. 2-1 is rolled out into left center. Encarnacion on his way to third. A 2-out rally here for the White Sox. And it'll bring up Luis Robert. So we talked to you earlier this spring. David Ross is healthy, but some of that flu bug going around the clubhouse a little bit. Little blister issue for Rizzo. But
right.
it really is all about health, right? Just making sure everybody's good to go on March 26th.
Yeah, you know, Len, you're 100% right. You know, more so than ever. It never used to be, you know, projecting getting everybody out of spring training healthy. Now it seems that injuries are so prevalent that that's the major concern for manager and front office people.
Inside on Robert. He doubled in Jimenez with the first run of the game in the second. Lawler home on a 1-0. It's high.
So it's going to be interesting to watch Jason Kipnis when he recovers. He has a little bit of bout of this flu or whatever is going on, and his progression toward trying to win a spot and maybe an important spot on the Chicago Cubs in 2020.
You know, the conventional wisdom is if he's healthy, just has a normal spring, he's got a great chance to break camp with the ball club.
Right. And, you know, you're moving Nico Hoerner over to second base. This would be a normal day last year where Hoerner might have played shortstop if Baez isn't in the lineup. But now they want him to have the reps at second base and probably start the season down there.
Foul tip.
By down there, I mean, of course, with the minor leagues, where maybe you can get it, you know, 200, 300 more at bats and be ready to progress or be ready to come up if there is an injury.
Lawler to Robert, and he walked him. So bases loaded. Tommy Hotovy, the pitching coach, will head out for a visit. John Lester now will grab a chair outside the Cubs dugout after his outing today. It's always kind of a fun part of the spring, right? See the coaching staff and starting pitcher having a chat.
How would that look during the season, Len?
Yeah, that would not happen. You know, we used to see pitchers jogging on the warning track after their outing. We rarely see it these days.
Right, that's true.
That's also kind of fun.
You know, the Cubs for decades had a usher, an Andy Frain usher that sat right behind home plate, and that's where the umpire used to come for the baseballs. So he'd sit right in a chair right behind home plate for probably 25 years. Yeah.
3 on for Garcia. And another high miss by Lawler. Lester left after walking Encarnacion. 2-0. Hey, I know it's spring training, but I mentioned this earlier, Bruce. You've got 15,000 fans in the ballpark and a lot more buzz and energy than for a typical spring game. So there may be some nerves for guys coming over from minor league camp facing a big league lineup.
It's a pretty good point, Len. And a lot of these guys never played in front of this many people, and certainly not with a semi-second deck, which you know, it's in these parks there's really not a second deck, but you do have in Sloan you have a a nice section where you have probably a couple hundred people on each side.
2-1. Here it is. 3-1. Lawler came up through the Braves system. 8th round pick, 2015. Needs to make a pitch here. And he's going to get out of it. Schwarber back now in, and the White Sox leave them loaded. As we chat with Bruce Levine. Bottom 3. 1-0. Here in the third, this memorable moment is brought to you by Prevagen, the #1 pharmacist recommended memory support brand. We take you back to this date. March 6, 1987, the Cubs announced Andre Dawson, the former Expos star, had come to terms on a one-year deal worth a reported $500,000 guaranteed plus incentives. Earlier in the week, Dawson had offered to attend Cubs camp and said, "I will sign a blank contract." Worked out pretty well for him and the Cubs as he ended up being the league MVP. The Cubs, however, would finish in last place. And one reason Bruce Levine is a contributor here on Marquee Sports Network is your vast Cubs knowledge. So take us back to the Dallas Green era and how that all came down. It's pretty interesting that, you know, Hawk had to sit out that long and ended up coming to Chicago and considers himself now a Cub for life.
Yep, Aaron Bummer in for the White Sox, obviously pitching. But going back to that time, Dick Moss was the agent for Andre Dawson. They walked into a trailer that Dallas Green used for an office back in, this week in 1987, and said, "Look, he could go elsewhere, but he wants to play for the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field, and he's willing to take any contract that you want." And Dallas laughed. He said, "Oh yeah, right." He said, "You fill out the contract language and you can put in the amount." And Dallas Green put in $500,000 for Andre Dawson, who was already a superstar, having played with Montreal. But the real situation was Dawson wanted to come to Chicago. He needed to get on regular grass because the artificial turf was ripping up his knees and it was destroying his career. And
Perez takes a strike, 2-2.
Yeah, and sorry, Len. And so this was his goal. And as you see, you know how it worked out. It worked out perfectly. He had a great 6-year career with the Cubs and one of the all-time favorites, part of his Hall of Fame career, indeed.
That'll be a walk to start the inning. 49 home runs, 137 knocked in for Hawk in that MVP season of '87.
An instant favorite, as you would imagine, Len, and then just the quality of the man and the integrity of the player, and just the way that people, you know, responded to him as an individual and as a player was fun to watch.
Horner looks at a strike. Yeah, and those are the stories that become legendary. A blank contract. Everybody in these parts knows exactly what you're talking about when you just say those two words. Cubs trail 1-0. Still looking for their first hit. Schwarber on deck. Cubs have had a base runner every inning. Hit by pitch and 2 walks.
See if Horner goes the other way here.
Runner takes off and they'll stay out of the double play. That ball not hit very hard. Anderson waited back. Low throw. Abreu digs it out. So Perez now at second with 1 out, and here comes Schwarber.
David Ross liked the idea of moving the runner on that with a hit and run, something we don't see a lot of anymore, Len, because managers value their runners so much, with the home run ball being so prevalent these days that
yeah, and teams generally more aggressive on the bases here to try to set that tone.
Right, you try
early
things.
on.
Yeah, you absolutely try things in spring training.
Schwarber takes outside.
But managers hate losing base runners because of the home run ball. You know, this is so much like the 3-run homer era of back in the American League with the Earl Weaver days now, because everybody in the lineup seems to be able to hit a ball out 15 to 40 times.
1-0 to Schwarber is outside for a ball, and Grandal will talk it over with his pitcher Aaron Bummer, talking Cubs and Sox moments earlier. You know, interleague play, everyone has an opinion on it, and we have more of it now than ever before. I think one of the reasons it will stay probably forever is because of rivalries like this.
Yeah, no doubt, Len. I mean, the rivalry is great. I think once they sync up the DH with both leagues, I think it's going to be more equal ground. I know there's a couple of teams in the National League that are against it, but only a couple now. Used to be the whole National League. Now you have just maybe the Reds and the Pirates that are reticent to go that direction. But I think after 2021 with a new CBA, you're going to see DH universally used.
I think because of all of that interleague play, it makes sense to play under the same rules. And it's a very emotional topic for a lot of National League and Cubs fans who don't like the DH. But I agree with you. I think it's a matter of when, not if.
It never made sense to have separate rules in each league. It just never made any sense to me.
The 3-0, Schwarber takes ball 4.
It was only supposed to be an experiment that the American League used, and they liked it so much they incorporated it. National League had no use for it whatsoever, and then you see this funkiness. It goes on into interleague play now and the playoffs and the World Series. Just does not make a lot of sense for baseball.
Well, what does it say when you have National League clubs in spring training who pretty much use the DH all the way up until about 10 days left in spring training?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Len. Right? I mean, it's a great way. I mean, watching pitchers hit is not fun, and it's not really great baseball, but it's an integral part of what the National League has always been about.
There's Contreras, backed away that time by Bummer, who's walked a couple here in the 3rd inning. Giolito for 1. Cishek, and now Bummer for the White Sox. Lester worked into the 3rd for the Cubs. Missed again. We've talked a lot about the new rules, one being an extra roster spot. It'll be 26 starting on opening day. It'll increase to 28 in September.
You wonder if people will have an extra catcher again.
That's a strike. Yeah, 3rd catcher, a pinch runner.
Yeah.
A versatile defender, or just best bat you can have, right?
Yeah, so we've seen so many teams, look for that. If they're in the pennant race, look for that speed guy at the end of a season. Now maybe you could afford to have them all year long. Maybe win a ball game on a regular basis throughout the year by pinch running with a guy that can either steal a base or score from first on a double.
2-2 on the follow through. Contreras caught Grandal.
And then of course I think we're going to see more movement with players that are either sent down the minor leagues or out of options, and possible trades toward the end of spring training here before the 26th of March, where teams feel like they have that extra guy, so they can just look for that other ball player they like that someone else cannot control anymore.
2 on, 1 away. Full count. Cubs have been very patient at the plate so far this spring, making the opposing pitcher work a lot. Bummer already nearing 20 pitches this inning. Line drive's gonna hold up for Engel. Everybody has to hold. Good at bat, bad result. Now Hayward. All right, Bruce. So you've seen a bunch of teams here in the Cactus League, and obviously we don't get to look at the Grapefruit League, but the conventional wisdom is Dodgers, Nationals are going to be really good again in the National League. Yankees, Astros in the American League. Anybody else intrigue you that not a lot of people are talking about?
Well, I'm going to be taking a harder look at some of the teams maybe in the American League East. I mean, to me, to me, Tampa Bay is the team.
Yep, I agree with you.
I think that with the Yankees injuries and people thinking that they can withstand anything, they have two important pitchers down. They have two important hitters down to start the season. No one knows how long they'll be out. Tampa is just so resilient. They have such good pitching. That's my. I mean, it's not a surprise team. Nobody's going to say they'll be a surprise, but they could outright win the American League East.
The other team, for me, is the Oakland A's.
Right.
They have a chance to be as good as they've been, and they need to get past the wild card round. The tough part for them is they're in the Astros division, but they don't seem to have many weaknesses.
I'm talking to a lot of scouts that have been out there and some baseball people. They think the Astros are going to be deer in headlights for a while. It's going to see how well they get out of that situation.
Well, it is in there on Hayward, and it's 2-1.
I mean, going everywhere, being booed, being hated by the other, teams, and dealing that not just at the ballpark, Len, but having to deal with that in the periphery. That's not going to be easy. These are human beings. Whether they did something wrong or not, it's not going to be easy for them.
2-2 on Jason. Yeah, the equivalent is the Ryan Braun treatment at Wrigley Field. They're going to have 5 or 6 guys every day.
Right.
Everywhere they go, we'll get that same reaction from the visiting fans.
Lenny, how many guys get booed at the airport?
Right. Maybe a few in Philadelphia, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
Still no hits, but the Cubs threatening in the third. No play for Jimenez in left.
It's going to be fun in Chicago this year. I mean, you have two teams that are projected to be pretty good for the first time since maybe 2008.
Yeah, both.
Right. I mean, that's the only time they ever went to the playoffs the same season since 1906, and it'll be interesting to watch.
Still 2-2. And Hayward went, and he's out. Ryan Gorman has moved around, but he keeps ringing them up on the corners. Era set to begin in the state of Illinois. We'll tell you where you can go, plus a full recap of this game between the Sox and Cubs, all coming up on the Stadium, your source for Chicago sports. New pitcher for the Cubs, 6'3" right-hander Dan Winkler. 30 years old, Illinois native. Making his third spring appearance, former Atlanta Brave. Engel, Moncada, and Anderson due for the Sox. White Sox have left 7. The Cubs have stranded 4. So just 1 run through 3, but a lot of traffic. Winkler signed a major league contract in December. Off the end of the bat and floated into right. Cubs and Sox over the years met up in the 1906 World Series. The White Sox won in 6 games. They would play exhibition games, but not meet again in the regular season or beyond until interleague play started up in 1997. All-time regular season series is pretty tight. And Aramis Ramirez has the most Cub home runs against the White Sox all time, as Moncada was able to pull the bat back in time on the bunt attempt. Ball 1. Engel the runner. Nobody out here in the top of the fourth. As we mentioned earlier, Moncada's contract extension was announced just before the game, and he has responded with 2 hits thus far. There goes Engel, and he's going to be safe. Engel with a stolen base. Had a big lead, got a pretty good jump, and stole that one on the pitcher. Meanwhile, 2-0, and Moncada bunts foul. Got the bat down pretty late. Many dynamic young players on this White Sox roster. Moncada turns 25 in late May. With a .915 OPS last season. Two and one on Moncada. 3-1. Mentioning the White Sox, they finished last in the majors in walks last season, so that's something they definitely need to improve, and that's why the Grandal signing was so big, because it's something he does very well. That's a base hit. Engel around third. He's going to score. Moncada's 3 for 3, and it's 2-0. Well, that pitch was up, and he made Winkler pay. A single, steal, and an RBI hit. And the batter is Anderson, 1 for 2. So here's what the White Sox did last year with the bats. They expect to be a lot better this year. And we mentioned the defense as well, near the bottom in fielding percentage. So you see 8th in batting average, but just 23rd in on base percentage. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2. Anderson led the majors with 26 errors last season. Pitch outside. Huge crowd today here at Sloan Park. Cubs are averaging 11,670 so far. Anderson strikes out swinging. That's out number 1. That is also the 7th strikeout for Cubs pitching. One after the high one couldn't get it. That'll bring up Abreu. Outside, ball 1. Jose now 33. Led the American League with 123 RBIs. He also hit into a major league leading 24 double plays. So if Winkler can get a ground ball here and get out of this inning. Good lead by Moncada. Not running, swing and a miss on a slider. If you just joined us, JD is under the weather and will be back with us early next week. So he's on the mend. Cubs ready to head to Las Vegas for the weekend. Games right here on Marquee Sports Network against the Reds, Saturday and Sunday. Looking forward to seeing the new ballpark in Las Vegas. Two and one. Winkler behind again. Lester went 2 2/3, 4 hits, 1 run. He walked 2, he struck out 6. I would like to think John will be pretty pleased with the way he threw the ball today. Changeup in particular was good. Fly ball to deep left, and she's going to go. It's a 2-run homer for Jose Abreu, and it's 4-0. Home run number 1 this spring. And a Smith Mixer slider that time. And Abreu made him pay. Abreu hit 33 last year. So 4-zip and ball 1 to Grandal. Now 2-0. Winkler really struggling with his command. He's been behind most of the hitters here in this inning. Grandal walks. Tommy Hotovy will head out for Encarnacion bats. Check out the variety of luxury premier options Wrigley Field has to offer for your next function, like the Legends Suite, which includes an all-inclusive suite experience, a pregame tour, and best of all, a visit from a former Cub during the game. For more information on all premier options, visit Cubs.com/premier. Pinch runner for Grandal. Looks like Laz Rivera. Grandal making his spring debut. He's dealing with a calf strain, so they didn't want to push it too hard today. So Rivera, the pinch runner at first, and the batter Encarnacion. The pitch high for ball 1. It's on Elvis today. Thank you very much. Maybe he's coming to Vegas. high again. Winkler has allowed 3 here in the 4th. That is I believe, fair ball. No, foul. Caratini jumped on it, tagged the batter, but it's foul. Sixteenth big league season for Edwin Encarnacion. 414 career home runs. Actually started his career in the National League, but he's been in the AL since 2009. A high pop fly. Schwarber in left center. And that's the second out. They put those all-time Cubs debates to rest. Marquee Sports Network counts down the top 10 players in Cubs history on Cubs Countdown, premiering Monday, March 9th at 6 p.m. on Marquee Sports Network. Jimenez, a walk, a run, and a single. A wide open stance as he waits and takes it outside. Ball 1. Winkler's pitch, big rip, came up empty. 1-1. Dan made 27 appearances for the Braves last year, 69 times the year before. On the corner, now talking to himself, he's frustrated as he tries to get out of this inning, having already allowed 3, 2 on the Abreu home run. One and 2 on Jimenez. Robert waits on deck. Rivera the pinch runner at first. Swing and a miss on a breaking ball to end the inning. But the White Sox add to their lead, and we head to the bottom of the 4th from Sunny Mesa. It's the White Sox 4 and the Cubs nothing on this Friday. We mentioned 4 interleague matchups in the regular season in July. Each franchise with 3 World Series titles. Cubs with 17 pennants, 7 division titles. And you see the all-time winning percentage, both over the 500 mark. Cubs a charter member of the National League. The White Sox, charter member of the American League in 1901. This is a right-hander, Jimmy Cordero. Sevi Zavala now catching as well. And switch hitting Victor Caratini leads it off. He grounded out his first time up. 4-zip White Sox. And ball 1 outside. Third major league team for Cordero. Nationals, Blue Jays, White Sox. Swing and a miss. 96 with some late movement. Caratini steps out. He's got that right sleeve shortened and tucked under. Grounded foul past first. I guess if I had his biceps, I'd do the same. Almora and Bodie to follow. Garcia about as deep as you can play as a second baseman, way out in the right field grass. 1-2 is rolled toward the middle, and it gets under the glove of Moncada for a base hit. That is the first Cubs hit of the day. Here comes Albert. Caught looking in the second. So he had the big shift on. And Moncada just couldn't get it. On an opposite way single. That is a foul ball right at the plate on a check swing. Albert, the Cubs' first round pick in 2012, first draft pick in the Theo Epstein era, out of Hialeah, Florida. We've got a balk on Cordero. The home plate umpire Marquez called it. Let's see what he did. You know, I think it was that little hesitation. That's the type of balk call that aggravates people like my partner. It was just kind of a double clutch. It really wasn't trying to deceive anybody. It looked like maybe he lost his footing or didn't have a good grip on the ball. But typically, when something just doesn't quite look right, they'll call a balk. So one strike on Almora. Caratini now at second. And then the other question you ask is, why was he checking on Caratini in the first place? A guy who doesn't run a whole lot. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Right-hander set at the belt, and the pitch knocked down by Zavala. Slathering on the sunscreen today on the berm. What a gorgeous day. Barely a cloud in sight. Lined and out at third, out at second, double play. That'll go 5-4. Well, tough luck for Almora and Caratini. And after the high one, let's see what Caratini did. He pretty much tried to freeze, but it was too late. So Bodie with 2 down. Strike one. Walked in the second. Darryl from the stretch exclusively. He's now ahead of Bodie. That one clocked at 99 on the radar reading. Pretty good waiver claim by the White Sox from Seattle. Just after the Mariners had taken him from the Blue Jays last year. Put up a 275 in 30 appearances with the Sox. Bodie waits on a 1-2. And a ground ball dropped by Anderson. Looked like a pretty routine play, but it'll be an error on a White Sox shortstop. And the inning's still alive. I don't know if this hit a pebble or something, but he was on the move. Maybe just came up and hit the heel of the glove. Let's see if the Cubs can take advantage. Descalso. And the 2-out base runner. And he looks at a pitch low, ball one. Christian Yelich has a new contract. It was officially announced. 9 years, $215 million. Fair ball. Zavala makes the play. Single, error, but no runs. And we head off to the fifth. It's still the White Sox 4 and the Cubs nothing. Top 5, 4-0 White Sox lead, and Ron Coomer is going to stop by from the Cubs radio booth. Coom, good to see you.
Same thing, buddy.
What a day, huh?
Oh, it's been gorgeous. Yeah, perfect day here. We've been really fortunate here in the Valley. We've had some great weather, and perfect day for a baseball game here in a packed house here at Sloan Park.
Adbert Alzolay getting set for the fifth. Want to go back to the balk. In between innings, Alfonso Marquez, Jimmy Cordero, and Ricky Renteria were having a pretty lengthy conversation. I don't know how you saw the balk. It looked to me that when he went to throw to first, so here he's got all these little steps. That's not an issue. But watch here. He hesitated slightly. Now, to me, that didn't look very balkish. I don't know how you saw it.
Well, I have to agree with you. And to me, you really have to be trying to deceive the runner at first base. And that looked like maybe a little movement, maybe some indecision on what he's going to do. But nothing that was egregious, right? That you would go balk and, but now's the time to call it. So
it doesn't happen in the regular season.
Right.
Robert, retired by Alzolay, one away here in the White Sox fifth.
Well, Alzolay's one of those guys. We're going to talk about the rest of the spring, right, and see what happens with him. Great arm, big fastball, and good movement, and has that outside shot of possibly making the Cubs roster.
Yeah, Tyler Chatwood has looked really good so far, and probably will get the first shot at the fifth spot. Alec Mills, I'm guessing, will figure in some capacity, whether it's long relief, a spot starter, what have you. But there are some spots open in the bullpen.
Well, there is, and if a guy can come in with a big arm and throw strikes, you're gonna, as camp progresses here, you're gonna get a really strong look.
Yuri Garcia, the batter.
But I have to agree with you. The other day I was out in Goodyear, and you guys did the game, you and JD, while Chatwood threw, and his fastball looked really alive that day. Had some issues with the breaking ball.
Got under the glove of Descalso and into right, and he will be charged with an error, allowing Garcia to reach. I thought he threw a couple of good changeups too, and as a starting pitcher, you need to have the full repertoire. I thought John Lester threw some nice changeups today.
Very good. Johnny, to me, after his first start where his command was a little off here at Sloan, then the next start, he had a great slow breaking ball. And then today, as you say, you know, the off-speed pitch worked, and his cutter today was very good. He had it in good locations on both sides of the plate. So that was very good for John. He's making good progress moving forward towards the opener.
Engel bounces foul. Let's go back to John Lester's afternoon. Yeah, he was right around the plate, and even his misses were generally in his favor. And I loved how he worked out of the first inning. He struck out 3 pretty good veteran hitters in Abreu, Grandal, and Encarnacion.
Well, we all know that right-handed, the cutter to the right-hander inside has been his forte for a long time. But the pitch that's really a touch pitch, that's a difficult pitch to master, especially this early, is that backdoor cutter to the right-handed hitter. And we saw him throw that one 3 or 4 different times right on the money. So Johnny's got a pretty good feel for what he's doing right now.
1-1 on Engel. White Sox have 8 hits in this game. Cubs have just 1. Runner goes, and Engel crushes one. That'll be a 2-run homer over the berm into the restaurant area. Absolutely smoked, and it's 6-0.
I'm sitting next to one of the all-time home run leaders in Jim Thome, who works for the Chicago White Sox, and that one had a little Thome sound to it. That one was tattooed to right field. A little fastball down and in, and he didn't miss it.
There's Mr. Thome. No, he did not miss this one. Well, you know, in this what we're calling launch angle era, decades ago, it was always keep the ball down. But most guys like the ball down. That's why a guy like David Bote gets dusted so many times as they're trying to get him out on the high pitch. As Almora makes the catch to get Moncada.
Yeah, well, you're right, Len. You know, everybody learned how to hit the ball down and had to, in the training of how to hit. And now you see this fastball, good fastball, good movement, but it's down about knee high and just boring in a little bit. And Engel just drops the head of the bat on it, and it's an easier pitch to elevate. And that's exactly what, you know, they're trying to teach now, is to drop the bat down and elevate that low pitch. The difficult thing, as that pitch just misses wide, as we see, but the difficult thing is to get that high fastball and being able to stay on plane with it and getting that pitch elevated. That's the difficult thing. And to your point about David Bote, and you're exactly right, is the hard thing to do.
Anderson hits a bullet to the shortstop Perez to end the frame. One of the runs unearned because of the error, but a 2-run homer by Engel. It's 6-0 Sox in the 5th. And analyze the 2020 Cubs MLB headlines and more. Cubs 360 tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Marquee Sports Network.
What a treat that will be, huh? To listen to that and hear Sweet Lou's.
Yeah, Doug Glanville, Ryan Dempster. It's a good group.
Yeah,
yep.
Very much so.
Ron Coomer with us here in the 5th. Jim Deshaies under the weather, recovering and hopefully napping right now. As Carson Fulmer, 26-year-old right-hander, will work here in the 5th. Perez, Horner, and Schwarber are due for the Cubs. So let's talk hitting for a second, Coom. What do you watch and look for other than results when you see guys who maybe have made a little switch mechanically or are trying to make a club?
Yeah, the results, really, you can kind of crumble them up and throw them out the window at this time of the year. I look for the weaknesses of certain hitters, and in particular the guys that the Cubs have had and have been here in Chicago for some time. And just seeing what it is that they're working on, and are they able to make that adjustment. I thought a couple days ago we saw Ian Happ with some really good at-bats, not chasing the high fastball, right, and with 2 strikes, getting the ball down, and he hit the home run to right. Now, if that was a line drive to the right fielder, so be it. But he did not chase the high fastball, he took it. I thought that was great, and then got the ball down. Albert Almora. Now Albert, the big thing that we've seen, you know, and Albert with some shorter strides and some things he's doing, a little more upright in his approach. And then the other thing is,
that's a one hopper to Anderson. And a good play by Abreu.
but to me, when you look at Albert, and you and I have talked about this many times on a team plane, sitting next to each other, about approach and what you're looking for. For me, Albert really dialed into the right side of the diamond and using right center field. Him doing that in camp and batting practice a lot. I'm watching that and watching him do it over and over and over. And him being able to incorporate some of that in the game, I think is very important.
Nico Hoerner has grounded out twice. 6-0 White Sox. And homered twice. Now 2-0. Nico, a good contact guy. Moncada, and his toes just touching the grass at third. The pitch. Pitcher's strike, 2-1.
Nico had a good at bat in his last AB. The Cubs played a little hit and run. He got a pitch down and in, and at least got the barrel to it to put it in play, protect the runner.
In the dirt, 3-1. Schwarber next. Cubs haven't scored in a couple of days. Blanked 5-0 yesterday. Played to a 6-6 tie on Wednesday. Full count on Hoerner.
See if Hoerner can now shoot this ball the other way. He's been getting pitched away in this at bat. If he can dial into right center, he should get a breaking ball or something away.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Got hit. He's got some extra protection, as you see on that hand. We were talking about Albert Almora Jr. So let's take a look at some of the things you discussed in his setup. So yeah, left is 2019. Right is this spring. A little more upright.
A little more upright. You see the open stance, and he's closed it just a little bit more this year to be squared off. You look at the angle of his body, where his legs, he's lower in 19 and he's a little more upright, definitely. And what I like is just the setup looks more athletic.
Yeah.
In 2020, right? I mean, he looks a little pigeon-toed and some things in last year's setup, and now I think he's a very good athlete, and let that athletic ability work for him in the batter's box.
There's Schwarber. One strike on Kyle. This TV stuff's old hat for you.
Well, it's been a few years since I've had to put on a suit for Fox years ago, and now sitting in the booth next to you guys at Wrigley. Yeah, it's, you know what's nice on occasion is be able to talk hitting and be able to use the teleprompter and see it and talk about some hitting things. Absolutely.
Zavala will fire late. 2-1 on Schwarber.
But yeah, I've been very, very impressed with some of the changes that some of the young Cubs, you know, and they're not very young. Almora has been in the league now a while and has had some success and has had his struggles. Same thing with Ian Happ, and they've both come to camp having made an adjustment, and it's working. Both of them hitting close to 500 here in camp so far.
And then there's Schwarber, who basically had the same second half that Nicholas Castellanos had, but was a bit overshadowed because Nick was the midseason acquisition, but Schwarber was just tremendous.
Well, to me, when you think about Kyle Schwarber, I think about his second half of the season, a couple things. One, either getting on top of the high fastball or laying off it if it's out of the zone. And then the thing Jim Thome and I were talking about earlier is what he just did in that last swing, is using the other side of the diamond with Thunder. So he hit a ton of balls out to left center field as this pitch is out and away from him, and you see him trying to shoot the ball to left center field, and that is on purpose. And to me, if Schwarber can do that in Wrigley Field, where the ball really carries to left center, Len, he's going to have another monster year in that 30 to 40 home run range.
That's into right. Corner to third. Right on cue. Nice piece of hitting by Kyle Schwarber.
Well, we talked about the pitch away, right, that he stayed on, and then what that does is then when you get the split finger change, you know, your approach is right. Now you see off-speed pitch, you stay on it, and he hits that one a little off the end of the bat, but just dumps it in the short right for a base knock. Good piece of hitting, as you said.
Well, we used to sit in Joe Madden's office and talk hitting, and all about hands, right? Not about the arms, about the hands.
Boy, and he's got some really good ones. When he's going good, he's about as good as there is in our game.
So chance here, best chance for the Cubs. First and third, one out, trailing 6-0, and that is foul to third. Off the bat of Contreras. They'll just find a way to get a run in here, right? It's spring training, but this is situational stuff that we talk over and over and over again once the regular season begins.
Probably the biggest thing that, to me, for the offense that the Cubs have declined is this aspect of the game from 16, where they were so good, to 2019.
1-1.
You know, I thought they're, you know, the Zobrist and some of them guys did such a good job of putting the ball in play and being able to move the ball around the field. And that's something that David Ross has emphasized, and the hitting coach Anthony Iaposa, about not punching out in these situations and being able to move the baseball around.
Schwarber doesn't have much of a lead. Fulmer checks on him anyway. One and one the count. Swing and a miss. Now he's got to go to work, down 1-2. Double play depth in the middle, pretty much straight away in the outfield. He stays alive.
Trick's getting a lot of inside breaking balls in this at bat. He's the way it looks is he's trying to shoot this ball to right center field, and Fulmer throwing a slider, but it's staying inside, and Contreras unable to kind of inside out this ball, and he keeps chopping this ball foul. Got a big hole on the right side of the diamond.
Ground ball picked by Moncada. 5 to 4 to 3. Ron Coomer, thanks for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your day over on radio with Pat Hughes.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
6-0 White Sox after 5. Sixth inning, White Sox lead the Cubs 6-0. Let's go down to the Cubs dugout and Taylor McGregor.
Thanks, Len, here with Kyle Schwarber, the birthday boy yesterday. So how did you celebrate your 27th birthday?
Just happy I made another trip around the sun, but went back home, had some dinner, and called it a quick night. Had to come out and play today, so you know, just another day, I guess.
Did you get any cool birthday presents?
I got a couple, but you know, a couple special things, so it was nice.
During the off season, you got married, so congratulations on your first married birthday. What has been the most special part about now having a missus by your side?
Oh man, you know what? I mean, we've been together for a long time, but now that we're married, and it's such a crazy lifestyle. But you wouldn't want anyone going through this life, without her. So I'm happy that she's there by my side, and happy to start a family with her.
To you, what's the most important thing that she does to support you?
I would say she definitely, whenever I come home in a bad mood, she knows how to snap it right out of it. And, that's kind of the biggest thing is, no matter what your day's like at the field or whatever it is, you want to come back home and be a family man.
How is your dog doing? Len wants to know.
My dog's crazy, Len. The dog's name's Blue. He's a Dalmatian, and love him to death. But he's out here. He's living the dream. I don't think my parents are too happy with having a fire dog in the house coming from a police family, but he's doing great.
Let's talk a little bit of baseball now. When you evaluated your second half of the year last year, what were some things that you felt like really helped you be successful that you wanted to bring into this spring? There was a little bit of a mechanical change, but also too just a mental change there as well, and just being able to, you always try to stay that same guy throughout the years, through the highs and lows, and it's true. This game can do a lot of crazy things to you, and you got to be able to come into the clubhouse and be that same guy, have the same positive outlook, still be a great teammate, and try to help the team win each day. And that's my mindset coming into this year. And I just want to go out there and play 120%. I just don't want to ever be a guy who's ever going to be questioned that if he's giving it his all out there. So that's kind of the goal. When we talk so much about the culture of the team this year, people say this is still the core group that won a World Series. Why do you personally still believe in this core? Oh, I mean, look what everyone's done. We got multiple World Series champions. We got one-time World Series champions. We got a bunch of young studs. I mean, it's just, you see the product out in the field, and I wish you guys could see it in the clubhouse about the character of all the men in the locker room, and about how we take care of our business. It's first to none. And now, obviously with Rossi being the manager here, and he has a lot of relationships with a lot of the guys who've been here. We know what he expects out of us, and he's going to push us to get the best out of us. And I'll put this team up with any team. How would you describe the character that you say is second to none? Just about everyone caring about each other and caring about how, not just the baseball is doing off the field, how we go about our work, how we're preparing for a game, and we're all making sure that we're putting ourselves in the best position to succeed. And you know what? If that guy that's first stuff that doesn't get it done, the guy behind us will. Well, thank you so much for your time. Go continue the birthday celebrations into the weekend. I think you deserve it. As a 27-year-old, Len, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Taylor, Kyle, thank you very much. 3-2 to Zavala, and that is ball 4. One out base runner for the Sox. We have a must-read book for you on the docket. Let's Play 2, The Legend of Mr. Cub, The Life of Ernie Banks, by Ron Rappaport, longtime sports writer, Chicago Sun-Times, and a columnist. And he has joined us in the broadcast booth to talk about this project as Gavin Sheets takes a strike. Ron, how are you?
I'm doing good, Len. How are you?
I'm
good
great.
To be with you.
So tell us why you decided to write about the life of Mr. Cub.
Well, I spent a lot of time with Ernie. He lived in California where I was, and we were working on a project together. And he told me a lot of things that were behind the smile and the image and the optimism that we've all come to know and love him for. And I realized that there was a real guy living a real life with the problems and complications and difficulties that we all had. Well, the autobiography didn't work out, but when he died, I decided to talk to his family and his friends, former teammates. I was able to paint a picture of a guy who, behind the mask and the caricature that he created for himself, a real guy with real problems.
Gavin Sheets with an infield hit. And 2 on for the White Sox. And you know, I would like to think I knew Ernie pretty well. The one thing that anyone who spent any time around him, especially at the ballpark, would tell you that his goal was to make everyone around him feel great. And that's the thing I think that stands out and that people remember about Ernie. Even if they saw him play, if you got to know him on any sort of personal level, the cheer he brought to Wrigley Field every time he stepped foot in there after he retired was really remarkable.
It really was. And the thing about it is that on the field and off, there was always an undercurrent of disappointment, unhappiness. I'll give you an example on the field. From 1955 to 1960, Ernie hit more home runs and drove in more runs than Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Henry Aaron, Eddie Matthews, and everybody in all of baseball. He was the most productive power hitter in baseball. The Cubs in those 6 seasons finished 123 games out of first place. So he was never around. He was never in a pennant race. He was never part of the conversation, even when he was the best power hitter in baseball. There are other examples of that, too. And I'm afraid it also translated into his life. There was always an undercurrent. For instance, when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, a great moment, first ballot Hall of Famer. But then he'd go back to the Hall of Fame year after year for reunions, and he talked about Gibson and Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and all these wonderful players he played with. But every year he went back, he got sadder and sadder because he'd look around the room and see that he was the only one there who hadn't played in a World Series. And it kind of ate at him. And this was the sort of thing that carried over into his personal life. Ernie was married 4 times. Both of his sons, Joey and Jerry, twin sons, were very honest with me about the pleasures and the problems of growing up Ernie Banks' son. He had difficulty kind of coming to terms with a lot of things. And he solved some of this by creating this mask and creating this caricature for himself. It was honest. All that wonderful joy that he brought to people was the real thing. But underneath that, there was a real guy living a real life and with some problems and pleasures. You know, there's a lot of fun in this book. You can't write about the '69 Cubs and, you know, laugh and cry at the same time. But what I tried to do is tell about the Ernie we knew as well as the Ernie we didn't know. I should say that the paperback edition of the book came out this week. So I'm in Arizona having a good time telling people about it and about Ernie.
Mickey Delmonico, the batter, 2 on 1 out. Swing and a miss. That's out number 2. I want to ask you just about the mechanics. You've written multiple books. You got a column idea, right? Whatever, how many words it is, 700,000 words, and then a book is a much different thing. Have you enjoyed that process?
I have enjoyed it, but you're exactly right, Len. You know, when you finish a newspaper column, you pick up the phone, you call the office. Did you get it? Fine, see you tomorrow. Well, with a book, it's never over. It's always hanging over your head. You get up in the morning and you think about it. You go to bed at night and you think about it. This was a 3-year project, and it was every day, all day, every day. It's exciting, but it's a completely different kind of process for a writer. I mean, there were so many people to talk to. There was so much research to do. There was so many statistics to look up. It just went on and on and on. And I really enjoyed it. But at the end, you take a deep breath and say, well, Ernie, I did my best. I hope we did right by you.
We'll have more with Ron Rappaport coming up as the Cubs trail the White Sox 6-0 in the 6th. We'll be back. White Sox 6, Cubs nothing. Cubs bat here in the bottom of the 6th. We're chatting with Ron Rappaport, who authored Let's Play 2, The Legend of Mr. Cub, The Life of Ernie Banks. You mentioned the '69 Cubs. Even after the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, that particular team, that particular summer, still is deep in the hearts of any Cub fan who lived it. Why is that?
I talked to some people who've been there who were young at the time, you know, and they talked about, you know, it was terrible at the end, but it was 5 of the greatest months they ever had. You talk to people about remembering their fathers taking them to the game. I talked to one guy, a guy named Dennis Paoli. He helped write The Bleacher Bums. Remember the play that became a movie? He said, listen, I was a hippie then. I was in college. My dad and I didn't agree about anything. We didn't agree about our politics. We didn't agree about what hours I should keep. We certainly didn't agree about our hair. But he said, but when we went to the ballpark and my dad started screaming and yelling about the Cubs, we had this bonding. There were other people who had those same feelings. It was one of the greatest summers of their lives. And yeah, it all came badly, ended badly. But you know, who might have had the best take on it was Ken Holtzman, who said that a lot of people, you know, are still in touch with him about it. And they were unhappy. But what they remember is the good times, the wonderful times of that summer, when every day there was a new hero. One day it was Ernie. One day it was Ferguson Jenkins. One day it was Al Spangler. You know, one day it was Billy Williams. It was just this wonderful, great team that gave Chicago so much fun after so many awful seasons. You know, the attendance at Wrigley Field wasn't very good in the middle 60s. In 1967, when they got good for a while, the Bleacher Bums organized. There was a lot of excitement around them. But in '69, for the first time since anybody could remember, you couldn't get a ticket. I mean, they set an attendance record that lasted 20 years. It was a fabulous summer. Yeah, it ended badly. What are you going to do?
Alberto Mejia, left-hander on for the White Sox. And there's this, I don't know if I would say great, but interesting paradox in terms of our sports world and our fandom, in that heartbreak and disappointment truly can bond a fan base, as Hayward sails that one into left center for a base hit. And you're not asking for disappointment or heartbreak, but I don't think, and you can disagree with me, but I don't think as you look around the world, and you know, the reach of WGN certainly helped, and Jack and Harry and all of that stuff, but the course of Cubs history leading up to 2016 and the way it had happened in so many disappointments truly makes a Cub fan different than a fan of another team.
Well, I think so. There's this generational aspect. Len, it's almost religious. I'm a Cub fan because my father was a Cub fan and his father was a Cub fan. Do you know that when the Cubs played the first 2 games of the 2016 World Series in Cleveland, now they're coming home for the first World Series, chance to win a World Series in over 100 years. And people went to Ernie's grave the day before the 3rd game. They went there all night at Graceland Cemetery. They had to have traffic cops there. But people also went to their father's graves and their grandfather's graves. You took me to the ball game so many times. We went to Wrigley Field so many times, and you never saw this. You never had a chance to see the Cubs win a World Series, and it was really very, very bonding. That was the word you used, I think, and you got it exactly right. Cub fans, and you know, are very, very different from any other kind, I think.
We often talk about how much Ron Santo would have loved this club and the 16 team. Ernie passed away in January of 15. So the question is, Ernie's around, Cubs win the World Series in 16. He would have reacted how?
Oh, he would have been out of his mind. He would have gone nuts. Can you picture him throwing out the first ball of Game 3 of the World Series? What would the response have been at Wrigley Field? It was amazing. You know, Ernie was the second of 12 children, and his older sister, Edna, is still alive. She's going to be 93 this month. And I called her when the Cubs got into the World Series. And I said, are you watching? Oh, yeah, I'm watching. What do you think, Edna? She said, it's just a shame my brother had to die and couldn't see this.
Yeah, I think we all felt that way for sure. Yeah.
Now, he would have been over the moon. I picture it. I do.
He would have worn that ring proudly every day.
I think so.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. 3-1 on Victor Caratini. Cubs batting here in the 6th inning. Can we do some baseball punditry while we've got you here?
Why not?
White Sox Cubs. Do you like interleague play? Do you like that they match up during the regular season?
Yeah, I kind of do. You know what I really like it for is for those kinds of intercity rivalries. Angels, Dodgers are not exactly intercity, but they're in somewhere. I remember back to when Montreal and Toronto. You know, how wonderful would that have been? When you know, maybe there'll be another team in Montreal.
I hope so. Love going there.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, on the one hand, you know, the Dodgers used to play the Cardinals 22 games a year, so that's not quite so often. So you lose something too. But it was. I like interleague play. I do.
Yeah, and we're lucky that we do get to see the intra-city rivalry. 3-2 outside, ball 4. Cubs have 2 on with nobody out.
I don't know whether this still goes on, but after the Cubs and the White Sox intercity rivalry first came in, after 4 or 5 years, when you'd look forward to the next time they met, the papers would run retrospectives of the rivalry. You know, what has been through the years, even if it had only been 4 or 5 years. Well, now, you know, you really have something to look back at. Great games and great performances. It just adds a new layer of our interest in the game, doesn't it?
It's a great baseball city, isn't it? Now more of the batter. Miller is running for Caratini, so 2 on and nobody out. There has been an idea, if we were to go back to 154 games, to geographically realign. And we really have blurred the 2 leagues quite a bit with interleague play. So the idea would be, you know, I mean real geographic realignment to the point where Milwaukee, both Chicago teams, Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, they would all be in the same division. So after you've, you know, watched these 2 teams in separate leagues for decades, would it be beneficial to one, both, neither, if they were in the same division? Could you envision that?
I've thought about it for years.
I think it'd be interesting.
I think geographical divisions it's a great idea. You cut down on some of the travel. It's kind of exciting when you leave the division and go across the country to play somebody else. You can build up some rivalries nearby. I've always thought that was
How about
a good
Cubs
idea.
White Sox in a pennant race in September against one another? I mean, how fun would that be?
You wouldn't be able to keep the city calm, you know. I mean, it would be unbelievable. It'd be just great. And I'd love to see the Cubs and the White Sox play each other every year. You got to keep the Cardinals and maybe the Tigers in that division. But I think it's a great idea.
It could happen at some point. The idea would be if you go to 154, each team would lose 4 home dates, but you would make up that revenue by essentially traveling a lot less.
Well, and if you go to 154, the idea of doing that is you can expand the playoffs.
Right. Yep.
And that's a good idea. I mean, nobody likes to play in November, you know.
1-2 on Albert. And I think he missed it completely. And he is out, but the runners advance. First base was occupied. That'll be out number 1. And it'll bring up David Bodie. Best baseball game you ever attended?
Best baseball game I ever attended.
Whether as a fan or writing.
I covered Nolan Ryan's first 2 no-hitters when I was working in Los Angeles covering the Angels. That was pretty terrific. I covered the Toronto, Minnesota World Series, Joe Carter. You know, those were terrific games. You know, I was a beat writer for a while after being a fan, and then I became a sports writer. Now all of a sudden I'm covering baseball, and I'm thinking, and those were the days when you covered 162, Lynn. And I remember thinking at the time, you know, you see every game, and you go to every game, you see, boy, a lot of these games are really good. You wouldn't think that over 162 that every game, not every game, but a lot of them were really terrific. It was, you know,
you do get to see unique things every day when you when you watch every pitch.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I was recapitulating some of Ernie's career, and some of the games he had 5 Grand Slam home runs in one season, to which 1955. To which the joke was, "You mean the Cubs loaded the bases 5 times?" But what was funny was so
there's a base hit. The Cubs get their first run as Hayward scores. David Bote makes it 6-1. A pretty good pitch to hit right down Main Street.
Yeah.
Trent Jimbroni will run for Bote. And that might be it for Mejia. Yeah, here comes Ricky Renteria. Hey, Ron, really enjoyed the conversation.
Enjoyed.
Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you pick it up. Let's Play 2, The Legend of Mr. Cub, The Life of Ernie Banks. It is now in paperback. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Here's a copy for you and JD.
Thank
Great.
you. Good word here. David Bote knocking in Jason Hayward. I want to thank all of our guests who have stopped by to chat. Bruce Labine, Ron Coomer, Ron Rappaport. Taylor McGregor's done excellent work as always. And now right-hander Evan Marshall. Kyle Schwarber in the dugout. Fun interview. This is Luis Vasquez, I believe. Luis Vasquez. Thank you, Adam. Here's the 1-0 in the air to left. Delmonico. Foul. Ooh. Foul ball. Jerry Davis made the call. It was close. No replay review. It's just a foul ball. Well, I saw chalk. That would definitely deserve another look if we were in the regular season. But Jerry had the best look at it. The batter, by the way, is Rivas, Alfonso Rivas. Got him from Oakland in the Tony Kemp deal. Here's the pitch. This will be a fair ball to right. Miller will score. Jimbroni to third. It's a double, and it's 6-2. Rivas has opened some eyes here this spring. He is now 4 for 9 with a double, a triple, and 3 knocked in. And 11 plate appearances. Infield back, second and third. Zach Short at the plate. Fastball misses in tight. For ball 1. Long way to go. We're only in the 6th. On the corner for a strike. Deep breath by the right-hander. Fly to left. Delmonico catches. Jimbroni tags and he stays put, and probably the right decision. He likely would have been out. Switch hitting Robel Garcia. One of the roster cuts today. He was optioned to AAA Iowa. And this is in the air, foul territory, third base way, and to the seats. Cubs assigned 11 players over to minor league camp. So the spring roster now at 51. Down from 62. Just under 3 weeks before opening day. Miller Park in Milwaukee on March 26th. Toward right, but it'll be cut off by Romine, the second baseman. Cubs get a couple, trail 6-2 as we go to the 7th. 7th inning, 6-2 for the Southsiders, and mic'd up on this Friday afternoon, Cubs second baseman Nico Horner.
Schwarber mic'd up, just so you know. Come on. Mic on? Yeah. Two.
Thanks to Nico for letting us listen in. I love how most guys, when they see teammates saying, "Hey, I'm mic'd up." Don't say anything we can't air. We always appreciate it. Andrew Romine will face Rex Brothers here in the 7th. P.J. Higgins, the new catcher, as well. Brothers fires low and in. Thanks for checking in, Katie. Romine, a non-roster invitee, 34 years old, and that's a strike. He has spent his entire big league career in the AL with the Angels, Tigers, and Mariners. Lifted to right, Noel Cuevas battling the sun for the out. Do not miss your chance to experience spring training here at beautiful Sloan Park. Tickets are still available now for games this spring. To purchase seats, visit Cubs.com. Engel still in the game. He is 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer and 2 runs scored. Hasn't hit much at the big league level. See him used a lot late in games for defense. Low, 1-1. We'll be off to Vegas tomorrow. Split squad action. Alec Mills will pitch for the Cubs here on Marquee Sports Network. Kyle Hendricks will face the Indians here in the Valley. That's well struck. Back on it, Miller, and it's off the wall. Engel just missed his second home run. That's a double. Upcoming schedule brought to you by First Midwest Bank, helping you build business momentum. So Cubs and Reds from Sin City, 3 o'clock Central Time. Cubs have their first off day of the spring on Monday, and then we're back at it from Scottsdale Tuesday. Luis Gonzalez running for Engel. And this is Zach Remillard. The pitch. He held. It's the 10th round pick of the White Sox, 2016. Jam shot roller to third. Jimbroni gets the out at first. Today's fan cam brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. Great crowd here at Sloan Park in Mesa. Here's Danny Mendick. Made his major league debut last season. UMass Lowell product. $16,095 here at Sloan Park. That's the second largest Cactus League crowd ever. Wow. So the Cubs have drawn over 16,000 on multiple occasions here. Runner at second, 2 outs, 7th inning. That's a strike. The pitch outside on a fastball. 95 from Rex. Oh, I love it. Three and two. Life is good. I guess that's one way to attend a Sox-Cubs game. Put your Bears jersey on. Called strike 3. Brothers gets out of the 7th with no runs allowed. It's 6-2 for the visitors late. White Sox lead the Cubs 6-2, bottom of the 7th. Our game summary is brought to you by Wintrust, proud legacy partner of the Chicago Cubs and exclusive home of Cubs checking. Jon Lester worked into the 3rd. He struck out 6 White Sox today, gave up 1 run. Abreu, Engel homering for the Sox. And Alfonso Rivas has had a nice spring over from minor league camp. RBI double. David Bodie knocked in a run as well. Let's hear from Jon Lester on his outing today.
I would have liked to had, maybe a few more at-bats with some contact early, regardless if it was a hit or not. Just I felt like there was some pitches that I made that were fouled off as opposed to kind of put in play, and then I kind of had to battle from there. But other than the double, the contact I did get was soft, so that's a positive. Cutter continues to be pretty good to both sides of the plate. Did my changeup a little bit more than normal today, which I had a good feel for it. It was a good effective pitch, but just the contact early, I would have liked getting the ball in play a little bit more early in those at bats as opposed to 4 or 5 pitches in.
That was a major league lineup. I mean, does that help you gauge things better when you see a full lineup of major league hitters at this point?
Yes and no. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, when you're younger, you don't care so much about scouting reports. It's just kind of what you're working on. And today we were working on some stuff, but at the same time, I'm still trying to get outs. And when you don't know where you can go and can't go and all this stuff, and I know it's spring training. I know we always say we don't care about the results, but at the end of the day, I don't want to give up hits or runs. And a guy like me right now I need that information. It makes it tougher. So that could have led to a few of those pitches. But it's nice to face guys like that, to face a lineup like that where guys, and I've had past experiences with guys to kind of give you maybe some positive feedback as far as your stuff. If there's some good cutters in, just some righties that normally those guys get to that ball and was able to get under some barrels. So it's always a positive.
You froze Abreu on that. Is that the kind of pitch you have to have, whether it be the umpire or the location from you? Just you need that pitch to come in on that right to get that call.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think early in the at bat, I need a call in there if they're not swinging, just because that gets them swinging when an umpire calls a strike in there, especially if they're trying to take in there and you get kind of the hands that go away from their body. So when that happens, I feel like when we get a strike, then I can kind of run my cutter off of that a little bit deeper and either get that bad contact or swing and miss.
Always insightful stuff from Jon Lester. After his outing today, his 3rd start so far this spring. Kelvin Herrera working for the White Sox. He hit Mark Zagunis to start the inning. Now Corbin Joseph batting in the DH spot, previously occupied by Contreras. That is a strike, 1-2. Veteran Herrera home inside, throw to first, not in time. Six to 2 White Sox. Pretty much all the starting players are out at this point. Part of this sellout crowd of over 16,000 in the ballpark. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Stay with us. The stadium comes up after the ball game. The Hawks have won 4 in a row. Red Wings are rebuilding, and the Hawks will be in Detroit tonight. Sports gambling era set to begin in Illinois. We'll tell you where you can go, plus a full recap of this game as the Cubs host the Sox. All coming up on the stadium. Your source for Chicago sports. Cuevas looks at a strike. Cuevas has been a busy man. He's played in just about every game. Tied for the team lead now with 13 appearances so far this spring. This is the Cubs' 15th Cactus League game. Chopped to short. Mendick will flip. Romine the turn. 2. That was a Brian Gorman spring training out call at first. He might have been saved. To the 8th, it's the White Sox 6 and the Cubs 2.
Welcome back here to Sloan Park. We're joined by some more special guests, Wyatt and Mike Johnson. They're on a boys trip all the way from Atlanta because Wyatt here is celebrating 4 years cancer free. And Anthony Rizzo is his favorite player. He's got a Rizzo jersey on. Wyatt, who is your favorite player?
Anthony Rizzo.
And why is he your favorite player?
Because he had cancer.
So special. Dad, for you, when you got the news that your son was going to have to battle cancer, and then to see somebody like Anthony Rizzo having done that, what kind of inspiration was that for you as a parent?
Well, I mean, because he battled cancer during his sports career and was able to beat it and then still stay on the field and play at such a high level. It helps, I think, all the parents out there that go through a childhood cancer diagnosis, because you can see that you can tell your kid they can still do anything. Cancer can't stop them, won't hold them back. They can be successful and be still whatever they want to be. I mean, he wants to be a baseball player, and he can be. Nothing will ever hold him back.
And still to this day, how have you used Anthony as a symbol for him that he can do anything?
Well, right now he's plastered all over his room, and as we kind of carry on, I mean, like the inspiration behind coming out here was he's always wanted to meet him, and I mean, he'll always be his favorite player, and he plays baseball right now, so like he never stops talking about him. And for me and his mom, like, it's just nice to have a team like the Cubs, who we love and have followed our whole lives, and have an inspiration on our own team just to look up to.
And the sign is amazing. It says, "Hey Rizzo, I beat cancer too. My name is Wyatt, 3 years cancer free." We saw him with this sign. He had a big smile on his face. How did the idea for this sign come about?
I asked him what he wanted to put on it. I just said that if you want to get Anthony's attention, we have to have a sign. So I just said, what do you want to write on it? So this was his idea.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that you guys get to be here and to see the team that he plays for. And I'm just thrilled that he could inspire you like he has so many other people. So thanks for sharing your story with us, Len. We will get it back to you.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Great stuff. Rex Brothers just struck out Andrew Vaughn, the 3rd overall pick in the most recent amateur draft. What a great story. And great to see them here at the ballpark. Sebi Zavala. Brothers in his second frame. Fires wide, ball 1. Mentioned earlier the Christian Yelich deal. Over the next 7 seasons, adding over $187 million to his contract. He had signed a 7-year deal with the Miami Marlins back in 2015. So he'll be a Brewer maybe until his career is over. 2 balls, no strikes. The pitch. Low. So this is the largest guaranteed contract in Brewers history. And the pitch. That is in there. It's 3-1. Congrats to Cardinal manager Mike Shildt. Got married yesterday. Zavala fouls 3-2. Gavin Sheets on deck. I see home plate now in the shade in the late afternoon hours. Most of the field still splashed by the sun. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. That's out number 2. Others has his 3rd consecutive strikeout. Sheets, left-handed batter. White Sox 2nd rounder 2017. Wake Forest. Spent last year at Double-A. One and one. Fastball at 96. Oh, that's a quality baby right there. The 1-1. Now 1-2. Live television. You gotta love it. Maybe not the only one at the ballpark doing that after 3+ hours in the sun. One and 2 on Sheets. A shot of the field from left on that berm. Emergency hack by Sheets. Look out, Franklin Font. And Omar over there too. Way to hang in there, Omar. Full count. Delmonico on deck. White Sox scored 1 in the 2nd, 3 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th. Nothing since. Brothers trying to work his 2nd straight scoreless. And we will try it again. Another 3-2 try by Brothers. Swing and a miss. He fans the side and will end his outing with 4 consecutive punch-outs. 6-2 White Sox in the eighth inning. Hey, the Chicago Cubs offers special programs designed for your future Cub, from Kids Sundays at Wrigley Field to Clark's Crew and baseball summer camps throughout Chicagoland. Many ways to build lifelong Cubs memories with your kids. Visit Cubs.com/kids to learn all about our Cubs Kids offerings. Nothing better than seeing the youngsters, the young baseball fans at the ballpark having a blast. Great family outing here at Sloan Park. Right-hander Tyler Johnson, 5th-round pick of the White Sox in 17 against Ian Miller. And the throw to first, not in time. He's aboard. Good start to the Cubs' 8th. Play by Remillard on the bare hand, but Miller's speed beat it out. So a bunt single to start it. And now Higgins. Miller tried to steal second on a hit and run, and Higgins fouled off the mask of the catcher. And again, you know, Cubs are down 4. If this were in the bottom of the 8th of a regular season game, pretty good chance they would not be so aggressive. But you can try some stuff here in Arizona. One and one. Good lead by Miller. Not running. Borderline strike. 1-2. Miller goes this time. The pitch is wide. The throw goes into center. Safe. That'll work. Stolen base and an error. Ian Miller has made a lot of things happen so far this spring. He's got 7 stolen bases. Mendick thought he had a play there. Probably should have just smothered it. Infield back. And still 2-2. And 16,095. And one quick clarification: the largest crowd here was 16,100. And that was against Boston. Technically not a Cactus League game, even though for all intents and purposes it is. So this is officially the Cactus League record. Yeah, they packed 5 more people in here last year. And the Red Sox came to AZ before the start of the regular season. Three-two, swing and a miss, strike 3. It's the first out. And now Trent Giambrone will try to pick up yet another RBI this spring. He has knocked in 12 in 12 games going into today. Ball one. Cubs are home here in Sloan Park on Sunday against the Diamondbacks, one of those split squad days. They'll be in Goodyear tomorrow against the Indians, and of course we have the Vegas games versus the Reds on Saturday and Sunday. Outside for a ball. 3-0 now on Trent Giambrone. Might be a take one here in a 4-run game. Now 3-1. Now he can go to work. Ball four. I want to give a shout out to Hector in Puerto Rico watching us today. Rooting on the Cubs. Alfonso Rivas, RBI double in the 6th. Tyler Johnson. To the plate, low and inside. 96 on that fastball. Lucas Giolito started for the Sox, his first outing of the spring. He went just one scoreless inning, struck out one. We saw former Cub Steve Cishek for the White Sox as well. First and third. Bunt hit by Miller. Stole second. Moved to third on an error. Higgins struck out. Giambrone walked. 1-1 foul tip for strike two. Johnson has a sign. Quick look at the runner at third. Now the pitch. Foul to the top of the net. Aaron Judge has a broken rib. Not sure whether or not he'll need surgery. A stress fracture. The first right rib, so he'll have to rest a couple of weeks. Well, bad injury news for the Yankees. So he hasn't played because of a pec injury and shoulder, and now the ribs. Up and in. Giancarlo Stanton has a strained calf. Aaron Hicks, Tommy John surgery on his right elbow in October. And Luis Severino, their starter, Tommy John surgery on February 27th. But they battled lots of injuries last year and won the American League East. 2-2, swing and a miss, strike three. 2 down, it'll be left up to Zach Short. Tim Tebow has been reassigned to Mets minor league camp. 2 for 13 this spring. He's 32 years old. Joined the Mets in late 2016. Swing and a miss by Short. Former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow. One strike to Short. He showed bunt with 2 outs and takes ball 1. First and third with 2 gone, 8th inning. And no pitch. Short asked for time and got it from the home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez. I guess good news for left-hander AJ Puk of the A's. Shoulder was bothering him, but they did some tests and no structural damage, according to A's manager Bob Melvin. We saw Puk early this spring, and they have very high hopes for him. Two and one. Two and two. Thank you, Hope. Enjoyed taking that picture. No filter. Isn't that what they say? Gets by. Miller will score 6-3. Little small ball for Ian Miller. The bunt single, the stolen base. Eat 2 to get into third and scores on the wild pitch. Now Jimbroni in scoring position on a 3-2 to Short, and he strikes out. All the outs were punch outs. Cubs get 1. We go to the 9th inning from Mesa. White Sox game day and by Miller Lite and by Prevagen. Prevagen is the #1 pharmacist recommended memory support brand. Should have brought my glove to the ballpark. Playing catch just outside Sloan Park. Great to have you with us here on Marquee Sports Network. 28 spring training telecasts leading up to the regular season opener, which we'll have right here on March 26th in Milwaukee. Right-hander Craig Brooks, 27 years old, will pitch here in the 9th. Nicky Delmonico started for the Sox. That is a strike on the outside. (6-3) White Sox. That's low. The White Sox have taken 5 walks, and so have the Cubs. That's 10 free passes in this game. Safe travels. One and two. Here it comes in the dirt. Brooks will try to hold him, and we'll see if the Cubs can come back in the bottom of the ninth. The pitch, swing and a miss. He got him. Hey, Cubs fans, join the Cubs season ticket holder waiting list today. Claim your spot in our lineup for season tickets. Easy and free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list. Luis Basabe. Bats from both sides. 23 years old. 7 years in the minor leagues with Boston and the White Sox. Not a whole lot of home run power for Basabe. Outside. He will take walks. Slightly open stance as he waits on a 2-1, and that heater drifts outside. 3-1. Cubs haven't won a game since Monday. They beat the Angels. Three losses and a tie since. A 3-2 home, and he walked him. As we mentioned, the Cubs are in Vegas this weekend to take on the Reds tomorrow and Sunday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Catch it right here only on Marquee Sports Network. Call it Big League Weekend in Vegas. We always enjoy a couple of days on the Strip. There have not been many balls in play here lately. We go back to the end of the top of the 7th. Strikeout, hit by pitch, strikeout, double play. 3 straight strikeouts. Bunt, single, strikeout, walk, strikeout, 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 walk. Boy, is that 2020 baseball in a nutshell. Basically has just been pitcher catcher here for the last half hour or so. High for a ball. Romine, a switch hitter. Let's add him up here. I think it's 11 walks now combined. 23 strikeouts. 2 hit by pitches. So that's what, upwards of 35 plate appearances in which a ball hasn't been put in play. It's a lot. Missed again. 2-1. Struck out Delmonico. Basabe walked. It's 2-1 on Andrew Romine. Mentioned this earlier, Cubs and White Sox will play 4 times in the regular season. Some years it's 6. At Guaranteed Rate Field, July 7th and 8th, and then 2 at Wrigley, the 20th and 21st. Swing and a miss. There's another punch out. The last 8 outs in this game have been strikeouts. How about that? Now Luis Gonzalez trying to become the 3rd Luis Gonzalez to get to the big leagues. Ball 1. Basabe at first, 2 outs in the 9th. Big swing, foul tipped. 1-1. Brooks ready. Hit hard and foul. Gonzalez was born in Hermosillo, Mexico. Went to high school in Tucson. And then went to the University of New Mexico. 3rd round pick. A lot of high draft picks in this game for the White Sox. And many off the bench. In their minds, the rebuild is over. It's time to compete, try to win a division championship. White Sox coming off their 7th consecutive losing season. They're in a division that on paper could be up for grabs. The incumbents, of course, are the Twins. We've got the Indians as well. Kansas City and Detroit. Both coming off rough seasons. But there's an opportunity for the White Sox. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Base hit to right. Basabe on his way to 3rd. He went up to get it. And solid contact on that hit. Now Zach Remillard. Coastal Carolina product. They're at the corners with 2 away. One 0. That one fouled almost into our booth. Brooks 5 seasons in the Cubs system. Split last year between AA and AAA. Much better with Tennessee than he was with Iowa. 2-1. Pitching already for the 4th time this spring. Mostly a starter in college, he has pitched exclusively in relief as a pro. Three and one. Crowd really quiet here late. Over 16,000 in the park when we started. That is a strike, and it's full. So Rivas, the first baseman, will play off the line now with a full count and 2 down. Out into center, Miller roaming, and the White Sox strand 2. Cubs last chance. They're down 3. As a bat in this convention this year, Network has you covered. Recaps of discussion panels, Cubs bingo, outtakes, and more. And I didn't even stumble on the stage this year. It's the Best of Cubs Convention 2020. Tomorrow at noon only on Marquee Sports Network. Literally 2019, we kicked off Cubs Convention. I am typically the first person introduced by Pat Hughes. And I stumbled on the stage. I didn't realize I had to take a step down as I went to shake his hand. But I stayed on my feet. Robel Garcia will lead it off here in the bottom of the ninth. Bennett, Sousa. A left-hander for the White Sox. Robel batting right-handed against the southpaw, and ball 1. 10th round pick 2 years ago. Reached AA briefly last season. Here's a 1-0 in there for a strike. Donnie DeWeese on deck. Got the home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez. Stay tuned. The stadium coming up after the game. Garcia down in the count. A lazy pop fly. Remillard in foul ground. That's 1. Deweese. Donnie homered earlier this week. Tough matchup here against a left-hander who pegs the outside edge. And a fastball for strike one. Here comes the 0-1 and way out in front, hammered foul. Eleven hits for the White Sox. Cubs have 6. A couple of home runs in this game. Abreu and Engel. Adam Engel had 3 hits today, single homer and a double from the 9 spot. 0-2 serve. 2 down. Corbin Joseph. Last chance now for the Cubs. That pitch was up and he got away with one. Joseph on his second at bat, DHing, struck out his first time and backed away that time. The 1-0. Lined and caught by Mendick. And that'll do it. So the White Sox come to Sloan Park and beat the Cubs. The final score, the White Sox 6 and the Cubs 3. We're back after the break.